Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Eric.
and we are proud affiliates of the You Run Podcast Network.
Head on over to yourunpodcast.com to check out all of our content, all of our affiliates' content, and so much more.
See y'all there. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another riveting edition of Under the Floorboards, where we laugh at the creatures that go bump in the night up on the south side of Chicago.
Something like that.
Something like that. You got Eric and John once again.
Smoke and stack.
Smoke and stack. Two grown-ass men with two grown-ass mics talking about the newest movie, Sinners. And I tell
Yes.
you what, I'd throw myself on all fours and start praying to God if I could send to that one girl.
Are we going to do the accent the whole time? Because I'll break this out.
I can't do it.
Born in the bayou.
I ain't got that Remy LeBeau in me.
This ain't even real. It's just how my daddy talked. This is all this was.
It's love. That was the white coming out.
Yeah, we saw Sinners, dude.
Holy
Oh,
fucking
Christ.
God. Holy shit.
This movie is good.
And
This is good.
the people listening were like, well, I'm sure it was. All you guys watch is fucking trash.
You guys watch an actual movie in an actual theater and enjoy yourself.
Surprise.
Imagine that.
What a bunch of fucking dolts. No, this movie was fucking awesome, guys. Like Ryan Coogler, fucking hats off. Like I still haven't watched Creed. I'm sure it's good, but like I don't care about boxing movies other than The Fighter because the actors are white. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Refuses to even watch the original Rocky.
Because Rocky Balboa is too black.
Dude, he lost by decision to a black guy. Are you kidding me?
That's why they killed Creed later.
In the late 70s, bro.
Ivan Dragovich punched Creed so hard in the head that he fucking died.
Throw the damn towel.
With Sinners, this is like, you know what? Actually, we're just going to go ahead and do our first impressions.
Yeah.
And Eric, I want to get yours first because I
Yeah.
know you've been like really stewing
I've
on
been
this
ruminating
one.
on this
Yeah.
one. Yeah. It's good for horror to have movies come out that are genuinely good every once in a while. I think it's fun to make funny movies for a lower budget and just have a cool concept and execute it in a, kind of passable way and let it be what it is. People that love it will love it and everybody else will move on. This is one of those movies that I think people are going to buy physical copies of. I think people are going to buy the vinyls of the soundtrack. There will be posters on the walls of people's,
Ceiling
and shit like that. Yeah, the walls of their ceilings. Yeah.
when I lay down on my couch.
And it's just good. The comment that I made to you when I came in today is I was trying to figure out what made it so good, and what, in my opinion, made it great was that it's like an 8 out of 10 in every category. You know what I mean? It's just one of those kind of ideas that is very easy to execute cheaply. Are you signaling? I can't see your hand.
No, I was pointing at Haley Steinfeld.
Oh, okay. It's like, do you want me to talk louder? That's the talk louder signal.
No, that's an activation. That is.
Okay, understood. It was a left-hand, right-hand thing. Sorry, everything's reversed. The cinematography is gorgeous. The acting is strong enough for me. There are obviously better performances than others, in my opinion. But dude, the soundtrack and the sound design in general absolutely pushes this over the top.
It was like Hole's resurgence.
100%. What about you? What did you think?
I really don't say this lightly. I thought this movie was absolutely fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And my only regret about this film was not seeing it in IMAX. And the reason that I say that, sound design is obviously going to be a little bit different. And for something that is so intrinsic for the music in this film, I learned something recently actually that about the way that they did this film, and we couldn't really see it in the way that we saw it, which was just in a baseline theater. So you know how there's like you look at widescreen, right? And there are cinematic bars on either side. So apparently when you see it in IMAX, there are dimensions that those augment consistently throughout. So when the tension starts rising, it starts to focus in more and those start to like dissipate and it kind of gives you a
That's
bigger
cool.
picture. Yeah, there was
That's really cool.
there's a lot of thought that went into this and I regret missing out on that. Apparently that's a really big reason that people are excited to see it in 77 millimeter.
Yeah.
um and yeah, so that was so cool to me.
Is this one that you suspect will come out in different versions the same way like just off the top of my head, like Godzilla minus one did a black and white version. You know, just if you care about watching it this way instead.
Maybe. I think to translate what I think when we've talked about this before, like I think this is one of those films that's going to be really hard to translate from theater. Like I think this was literally designed for
To
the
be
movies.
experienced in a movie. Yeah.
And I mean they've already crushed like $230 million or something like that, or they
It was expected to do between 30 and 40 mil, and it did 48 in its open week, I think.
yeah,
Opening
exactly.
weekend.
Exactly. I think physical copies are going to absolutely crush it.
Hmm.
I don't know what the like collector packs and stuff like that are going to look like for this. I imagine that there's probably going to be a couple different discs in there. Like they'll probably have it in 4K for your basic stuff. But if there's a way that they can translate like what I was just talking about, like that conceptually,
Hmm.
I think that will be one of the best like when your friend gets really excited to show you a fucking movie for the first time, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god,
Yeah.
you haven't seen Sinners? I have it in 8 different variations. Like we
Right.
have to watch this fucking
Well, and
movie."
that's what I'm talking about. I think this is one that it won't require the cult following. I think this is
Right.
going to be kind of remembered experientially from the theater standpoint because I love we just watched it in like a standard
Hmm.
widescreen format, and I remember theater experiences changing the way that I feel about a movie overall, right?
Hmm.
Which is why fuck Minecraft, because if I get popcorn dumped on my head, that movie can go fuck itself no
Out of
matter
a
how.
green box from the kid sitting behind
Right.
you. Yeah.
Um, but I think, and this is not me comparing the movies one to one certainly, but I think this is going to fall in that category of like Interstellar, where
Sure.
people are going to remember what it was like watching it in a theater, and that's going to be, oh, it's my favorite movie ever. Oh, it's my favorite movie in the last decade, or that's my favorite movie by this director or with this actor in it or whatever, because it executes on so many levels, and
Hmm.
it's just a great movie.
Well, it's interesting you say that about Interstellar, because again, I know you're not doing like the tit for tat on it, but what I think is really cool about you saying that is when you think about movies like that, where it is the theater experience.
Mm-hmm.
You think about films that have like this very gripping, almost uh, sci-fi esque pull to it, and stuff that is because like this movie is incredibly visual for storytelling, but it's not the base idea of what you would think if I say this movie is visual. Like it is not
Mm-hmm.
visual in the same way that like Inception
It's
or
not still.
Interstellar
We're not
or
talking about the sides of the
right.
shots or whatever. All of this is happening very intimately, and like a I don't know. Some of the shots remind me of something that the Coen brothers would do or something,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And it's very much a vibe,
Oh,
you know,
the vibes are real.
like it's a vibey kind of visual experience where it's based more on perspective on what they're allowing you to see and what they're not allowing you to see.
Right. And we'll get into it here in a minute cuz mark that because this movie really is kind of like a master class in storytelling
Hmm.
because there is so much and I talk about this all the time and I get so frustrated with movies like The fucking Conjuring that just tell you and tell you and tell you and tell you and tell you
What you're supposed to be feeling and
and,
thinking.
and
Yeah.
reiterating and reiterating and reiterating shit where I have the peace to just like hear a line of dialogue and like there's a scene and I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out there now because we already talked about it. This movie, this review is gonna be full of spoilers. So if you haven't watched it yet, I mean,
This
you
is literally your last chance.
yeah, I would say, or if you want to hear us talk about it, you're welcome to stay and hang out and chill. Um, but there was a scene specifically where Smoke was visiting his I assume ex-wife or
Hmm.
um
Lover,
yeah,
old
whatever.
habit.
Yeah.
What?
And like the depth of storytelling in that scene where she comes out and he's like at their child's grave and he's like it's and honestly the craziest part is like it's oversimplified by the fact that he's there to just ask her to cook catfish for them
Hmm.
at the juke that night. But like the depth and the intimacy that came out of that scene, I was like, Jesus Christ, listen to me. I sound like I'm fucking feeling something over this goddamn
It's great,
movie.
and yeah, and if you can make John feel something in a movie, you made a masterpiece.
You actually made Mozart.
Shit, are we giving this a 10? So the overall premise of this movie is based on the idea that throughout time there are people that can cultivate stories and art in a way that creates a spiritual, perhaps even existential experience for people who absorb it, right? And we all have experienced something like that in some art form that we've digested. I
Mhm.
think the first one for me would be like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, right off the cuff, where you really believe that this person inherently has something inside them that makes them better at this than anybody else possibly could, right? Um,
Hubris, if you will.
it connects the dots between different cultures, not
Mhm.
necessarily just like within the realm of Black history or anything like that, but where it kind of deviates is that these people also carry with them kind of a demonic shadow, right?
Mhm.
Because in order, it's riffing on, I think, that blues legend of Robert Johnson selling his soul.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I think that's kind of just a different spin on that same classic blues folklore thing, right?
Mhm.
Because this is ultimately a movie about a young blues man, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think if you have any kind of basis on ever listening to the blues, you know about that concept. And I think you're right. I think that message really resonates in this film. And the best part is it stays true to the idea that through all of that, he still becomes that. Like he
Hmm.
still is like, I'm not going to let anyone take my voice from me.
Because that's that destiny thing that
Mhm.
somebody like that would carry with them as well. You're constantly shaking off demons and devils and stuff like that, but you're going to learn how to play them blues. That's one of those things.
Hi, everyone. I'm John,
And I'm Eric.
and we wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast, an affiliate of the You Run Podcast Network.
The Dewey Pod Monster Podcast is a weekly podcast about consumption. It's a lot about movies, but it's actually about consumption.
Hosted by John and Sean, the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast talks about beer, movies, spirits, shows, and absolutely everything else. Nothing is off limits.
You can support them by heading over to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, or any of the other usual platforms where podcasts can be found.
You guys rock. Messed with that culture for
Mhm.
a long time. Because for me, that's where like a lot of music stems from. So like if you listen to Def Leppard wouldn't exist without Robert Johnson. If you listen to Motley Crue wouldn't
Oh
exist
shit.
without Skip James.
I,
Like
I,
the
go
like
go. Okay, so like straight up, it's like Elvis Presley, Jimi Hendrix. It's like Queen wouldn't exist without the blues.
sure.
Fucking Van
Yeah.
Halen wouldn't exist. It's everything that came after that, and anything remotely close to like rock or rock adjacent, is
Well,
all
and
is all based on this.
hey, let's go ahead and just talk about like our favorite scene real
Okay.
quick because I feel like this is a great segue for that.
There is a section where Sammy plays he gets called up on stage and kind of introduces himself and plays a song that he wrote about his dad. His dad is a preacher, and this is Sammy talking about how he wants to get away from that. Like his nickname is Preacher Boy, right? Which is a really cool blues name anyway. Just association aside, um, but it
The
harken
only boy that could ever reach me.
it harkens back to what I was saying earlier about how this is a concept of there almost being like a soul passing between different eras and reincarnating itself within another person to continue existing, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is you have the juke joint going crazy, and then there's a dude that comes out looking like the guitarist for like a Prince cover band or something like that, right? And then it spins around. You hear like a big electric guitar squeal with a lot of distortion and chorus, harkening to like the 70s and 80s kind of,
Mhm.
spins around and there's somebody just scratching records and you hear like a hip hop kind of beat underneath this blues guitar and everything
This
too.
whole song
Yeah.
is the same the whole time.
It just, whenever
It's
it
layered.
spins, it shows a different era of music within Black history and brings that sound into it to really drive home the point that all of this is the same thing. It exists, it's timeless, right?
Hmm.
It will continue, the songs will continue to be timeless. The feelings that inspire these songs will be timeless, and there will be a person that ultimately is kind of the harbinger for that for the rest of forever.
Right.
And it celebrates art very effectively.
It's one of the most gripping cinematic scenes I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And what was really cool to like preface this scene happening at the very beginning of this movie before we even start really getting into shit, they have this I love drawn prologues, like physically drawn. I don't mean like drawn out, I mean like they're actually like
Mm-hmm.
artistically showing you. They start talking about how there are people within cultures that can communicate to spirits of past and present,
Mm-hmm.
ancestrally, XYZ, through music and through culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really so obvious, like that scene was solidifying the fact that like Sammy
Is
it
the one
is that
is
dude.
the one that we have present day in this film, and not just because he's killing it at the juke, but because he's got that dog in him,
Because
so
he
to
in
speak.
fact has that fucking dog in him.
Right.
And they say that this attracts the spirits, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
like all
Good
of the
and bad.
good and
Right.
bad, and that's the important part here is we have like, well, the he's literally burning this juke, or I guess actually metaphysically burning this juke to the ground, because the shot is now the juke is gone. Everybody's having the same party. We're seeing these African tribal dances.
Mm-hmm.
Still, again, the entire time, same blues song is playing. He is
There's
singing
some
over it in the
Motown
back. There's
like
Motown. There's fucking
trios
disc
and
spinning.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That had to be one of the hardest compositions to ever fucking write, and it was so fucking perfect.
And I would love to know how much of that came from Ryan Coogler's brain,
Mm-hmm.
because if that was his idea, I think y'all need to watch out for Ryan Coogler for the rest of his career, because he's going to do some artsy shit that isn't contrived and isn't, I mean, it's really going to deliver what he's trying to convey super effectively and with a lot of grace and care. And that was just fucking impressive to me. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't even think of another word for it. It was just impressive to see something that, like you're saying, grand come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of it too, is like while that song is playing and you see like this giant musical circle, you actually see the vampires on the outside because they've been attracted to this.
Mirroring what we saw in the drawing at the very
Right.
beginning, like the red eye, the beady red eyes peering through the window and shit. Yeah.
And while we're talking about this, because again, like this is all over the place, and this is just uh not the storytelling, but just like the bits and pieces that we kind of pick up throughout, is there's actually a line that's dropped later about Sammy by Remick, and it's about the fact that he wanted to like essentially turn Sammy into a vampire so that he could find his other people,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really cool because we don't get a lot of context about that, but we now have a motive, and it was literally just in a line of dialogue. That's
Mm-hmm.
all it fucking took
Yeah.
to say that this is why we were doing this. Um,
This movie is ultimately about how white people stole black music.
yeah, and how.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I loved that execution of that motive, because it gives you a reason to hate Remick. It
Mhm.
it gives you a reason to root for Sammy, aside from just, this is obviously the good guy, this is obviously the bad guy, right? But it's a really cool take. It's not a vampire that's just trying to like, that's just lusting for blood or whatever. It's a vampire that actually has intentions with forming his little army of thralls and stuff. Because if I'm not mistaken, he talked about kind of like a hive mind, not really a hive mind, but like a shared
Consciousness.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like if he gets Sammy, he gets all of the magic that's in Sammy too and can share it with everybody. And he's like, "Is this not what you want as a musician? Do you not want to share your gift with everybody?" You know, it's a cool it's just a cool take on that.
And I still believe that the term, because you and I were talking about this after the film, I still think the term thrall is correct
Yeah.
because there is a level of, and they talk about it later where it's like, yeah, he knows everything that I know. I know everything that he knows,
Mm-hmm.
and this, that, and the other. And there's also that point of, so like there's the Chows both have
Mm-hmm.
a daughter, and the husband Chow gets fucking turned into a thrall, and the vampires are trying to get in. And again, guys, these are like super classic vampires. I was really impressed with how Coogler integrated this concept
Mm-hmm.
into this era. I thought was really cool.
They can fly, they have fangs, they drink blood, they have venom, and garlic, stakes to the heart, shit like that. Sunlight certainly fucks them up.
You have to invite them in.
Yep.
They cannot just walk into your fucking house.
Right.
Um so it was real, but to me, when there, it has to be a thrall instead of turning them to a straight up vampire, because there's no part of me that believes that if the leader is like, hey, by the way, I know where your daughter's at, we're gonna bleed her fucking dry because I know because he knows,
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
There's no part of me that thinks that like the father would be like, yeah, we're just gonna fucking kill my daughter.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Bro,
He's
you've been a vampire for 15 minutes.
he is on board with the game plan. He is, and that's what a thrall is. It's you're going to serve me and my will now. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the whole idea. I'm stripping you of your independence and your ability to freely think.
And the funny part was that was the biggest irony for, we talk about the fact that uh Stack gets bitten.
Mm. I okay. You finish what you were
Well,
going to say, and then I was going to like connect a dot here.
oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So that's all I was gonna say. It was like Stack gets bitten, and Stack is one of those characters that I love, like Aaron Yeager, where like the only thing that he truly cares about in life is being free.
Yeah.
And the sad irony of the situation he's in at the time is that he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He is under control of this, because if he was like, kill your brother, he's like, fucking, I would imagine him being like, fucking, why?
Right. the the point that I was going to make, and this is probably obvious, but the undercurrent of the point that's being made here is it's a riff off of slavery as well.
Oh
it's,
yeah.
it's a commentary on slavery as well. That even within, like you're saying, a world in which you are free, you're still ultimately, in Stack's case, a slave to something like money or ambition, or if you're, in love with Haley Steinfeld, lust, right?
Shamik Moore. Yeah.
Something is constantly keeping you from being truly free, and it's just human nature to want to serve that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying anything weird by saying that, but it's just that
No, not at
it's
all.
just that true freedom doesn't actually exist.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Because when
Yeah.
you look at the film, it literally shows that every single person in this film was a slave to something. But it was a slave to something that made them feel free.
My favorite one, just because this is something that I've struggled with, is the piano player that's the alcoholic.
Oh yeah.
Right. 100.
What'd you spend all that money on? All the corn liquor I could buy.
I drank it. He was funny as fuck.
And had a great story too. Like
Uh-huh.
he had an incredible storyline.
So, yeah, I want to talk about the execution of the first act here,
Sure.
and how what we do is we, like you said, give our backstories to everybody that are going to be major players inside this juke when all the shit finally goes down, right? The idea is that the Stack brothers have left Chicago and they've stolen money from the Irish and the Italians. Holy shit. 1920s.
While they were working for Capone,
Right.
is what one of the
Yeah.
girls dropped when Smoke got to town.
Yeah. So they are loaded. They've stolen a bunch of booze. They've stolen cars and guns. Apparently, I fucking Smoke is an ex-soldier, which is crazy. Um, and just shit like that. So, basically, we're establishing the backstories of everybody. But there's a sequence, and it's so cool when you see moments in movies where you say that's the end of that act.
Hmm.
But the plan is to, okay, we're going to get somebody to fry some catfish. We're going to get somebody to make some signs and, donate some vegetables or whatever. Bring the booze.
We got to buy this barn house or this
Yeah,
old slaughterhouse or
you're
whatever.
you're going to come sing for us. You're the piano player. You're going to be the bouncer and this, that, and the third. And it takes a little time to get it going, but I'm glad they took that much time to get it going, because when you see that sequence of the sun beginning to set and everybody's excited for the promise of a new, like, prospect to go serve a community, to bring joy to people, make a shitload of money. Everybody's smiling, closing car
Because
doors,
they've
smoking
literally been
cigarettes.
picking cotton all day, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not a
That's
joke.
not that's very quite literally what they've been up to, and that kind of thing. And that was really cool with, again, that score behind it. That's got that blues thing, but they orchestrated. It's a little more,
Hmm. Dynamic.
arranged in a way
Yeah.
that's a little more palatable for a movie and shit like that. And I thought that was really sick. Um, I had a John moment when I was watching this movie.
I can't
I
wait to know what this is.
I finally started looking at the corners of screens. There's a sequence where the Stack brothers pick up Preacher Boy, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and come back to the juke joint. And for half a second, you see this like vulture bat thing flying behind the
Mhm.
car, right? Okay. When we get to the juke joint and it's the sun finally sets after the vampire, after Remick has created two thralls to help serve him, there are now three of those vulture bat things flying above the joint in a
I didn't
circle.
notice the
Yeah,
second time of that. That's awesome.
but it literally counts his thralls as he's following him the way, like I said, a shadow would. These people of this immense power to create life through culture and shit like that. And little touches like that are littered in this movie.
Hmm. 100%. Yeah, I can't wait to rewatch this now.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't notice it the second time. Um, but it's funny too because the levels of racism in this kind of transcend, because there's even a part where the it's not the or Choctaw
Mm-hmm.
is what they were saying. The the and I'd love to know like the sequence that led up to this, but Remick is running up to this house and he is like burning in the sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I ran into a bunch of Indians and this, that, and the other. You got to let me in your house. And of course, like, this is one of my favorite shots of the entire film is like he looks in through the door
Mm-hmm.
and you just see like a fucking like Klan outfit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And he's like, oh, thank God.
Oh, thank God. I've never been so happy to be white. And of course, like the natives come up and uh they're just like, hon, if you, and I love the point because they were so poignant and it was so clear that this was so racist because they just like pull a gun on them immediately, like, and the whole time they're having this conversation there are guns pointed at him,
I was
like,
gonna say all the wagons and
yeah,
the
like he's
stagecoaches
the
and
fucking
horsebacks. Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
And I really respected them using native language in that too. Like I love scenes like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it's one of those things where like I don't, I never want it to be something that people can't understand. I just want it to be stuff that like you can just read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it sets the tone better to like, because when the natives are talking to each other, they're all speaking Choctaw, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes a lot of sense because they're all like, we got to get the fuck out of here. Like the sun is going down. We're supposed to be inferring that they have been chasing this fucking vampire for X amount of time
Mm-hmm.
now. Uh,
Presumably, it lasts at least an entire day, an entire sun cycle. Yeah.
one whole moon cycle, we have chased the feathered bat. Like,
Seriously, what the fuck?
but I loved the part where they're about to leave, and the I guess not the chief, but like the sheriff, I guess,
Hmm.
of this province was just kind of like, you if you let him inside,
Hmm.
we can help you, but we have to do it
Right
right
the fuck
now.
now. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Get the fuck out of here, you cherry." Like,
Quality save.
yeah. uh, it was just one of those things where like it was just it was oozing
Yeah, yeah.
the racial tensions, and like it was handled so well.
The part that I like the most about that is after that, the head of the, party or whatever
Yeah.
literally goes, "Cool, have a good night. We're out. We are not
How?
we are not fucking with this thing at night."
We have already learned.
Hmm. 100%. And again, just connecting those dots.
Maybe that's why we don't whistle at night.
Hell yeah. I think you're right. I
They
think
have they won't tell me yet. I'm not like in the inner circle enough yet.
it was it was vampires the whole time. What did she call them at the beginning? She called them fire keepers.
Oh
Was
yeah,
that the term?
I think so.
Does that resonate in history at all? Is that like
I'm not Choctaw. Like,
yeah, I did, yeah,
I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of all over the place. Like it's I think the intent was right, and I think that it was there.
yeah,
I think to because you got to think about the fact that there's still like 600 tribes out there with
sure.
different cultures and growths and stuff like that. So, and I think after hearing a lot of like blanket terms, you just kind of like
That's what I was curious if that was more of just a safe like thing to throw in
I
here
think
than it was
was
like something that's like deliberately a Choctaw thing. Like these are they're
right.
fire keepers. That's the equivalent of somebody that plays a blues guitar better than anybody on the planet.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
the part that I did like was the inclusivity of that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I think that does resonate through a lot of what I'll call old world cultures
Sure.
that kind of like have some sort of retention and aren't cultures based on stealing other cultures,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
While also in a converse kind of way remarking on the fact that we do steal from other cultures.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
uh which was funny because like it was like the Irish thing all over again, right? Like,
and I resonated with that shit.
yeah,
I
totally.
resonated with the scene where Remick and the other dudes, his two other thralls, pull up, and they've got their, the redneck music for the redneck people. But when the sun goes down and the fire gets started and they get the liquor running, you start hearing shit like Rocky Road to Dublin and things
Yeah.
like that. Because that's very true. From like my experience with people in my from my
Hmm.
heritage and shit like that is it's all one big party. We'll appease the white people, the white American rednecks and that kind of thing with the with the or like the mountain people is probably a more appropriate term with like the bluegrass and shit because
Hmm.
that's where a lot of Irish people fled to, right, and things like that. And it's cool seeing that because it reaffirms for me that Ryan is like one of the coolest filmmakers out there right now and one of the most respectful filmmakers out there right now in terms of making sure that everybody's story gets told authentically without making
Right.
them a parody of themselves or a stereotype or something like that.
Sure.
And I thought that was neat.
Well, because I think that like in his own way, he kind of touches on Irish oppression
Yeah.
in this country as well, and that was crazy to me. Like to take the like for my people, I wasn't surprised because that's just another faction of brown people,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like easy to touch on. But like him kind of bringing what the Irish wanted from this overall, because one of my favorite parts in this is the Remick actually fucking tells them straight up, this was a like the juke that you bought, juke,
Mm-hmm.
the slaughterhouse that you guys bought is used to be used by the clan, and you bought it from the grand dragon
Mm-hmm.
of that faction of the clan. They're gonna come in and just fucking kill you in the morning
Right.
because he's not part of that. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
not part of that fact, and of course, obviously, he's trying to manipulate them into becoming vampires, like that.
100%. And it's a really complicated guy because he got all that information by making those two Klansmen,
Yeah.
his thralls. And it is an example of that vampiric power of like attaining knowledge, like you were talking about, and shit like that. Like in that hive mind thing that I was saying, that's still not the correct term because it's not a hive mind, but um it's just that's what I'm saying when I talk about like the depth of this movie and the attention to detail and everybody's motives make
This feels like
sense.
it's like 3
It
episodes,
was,
like to
yeah,
talk about
I know.
the
I
depth
know.
of sinners.
I know. And it's one of those examples of a movie, and I talk about this a lot because this is how I try to approach writing. I have such a grip on my characters and their backstories and what they would do. I sort of push them into this room and just watch how would they play with each other,
Hmm.
right? How would they interact? And I feel like Coogler did the same thing with this, where it's just
Wade in the
what
water.
would that dude say to that dude having known this but without knowing that,
Hmm.
and shit like that, and the conversations will write themselves.
Yeah, I'd love to see what level of this film was improvised. Like, I
Yeah.
think they hit the beats and the marks and all that kind of stuff, but I would really be interested to know, like when they're talking at the train station with the guy who's later going to play piano and harmonica at the juke, like what
Mm-hmm.
that looked like,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Haley just had some improv of her own, like spitting into Michael B. Jordan's mouth, like.
I think Haley Steinfeld improvised spitting in his mouth because I think it felt right to Haley Steinfeld to do that. Um, I am going to pivot here real quick. I'm going to pivot
I
here.
feel right, Brian.
I'm going to
I
jump.
feel right.
I'm going to jump on the controversy. I think she fucked him.
And here's my thing, man. Like, y'all are about to learn something way too much about me. Um, there is something that is incredibly intimate about spitting in someone's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I'm trying not to get an erection right now, but uh
I watched you do this. I'm going to pause you for just because in the theater I saw this man when Haley Steinfeld spit in Michael B. Jordan's mouth go like and cross the leg that would shield his dick from where I was sitting to his right.
well, that was out of respect, but because if I was there by myself at 3 in the afternoon,
And three people in the theater. You probably risk it on the felony, don't you? You
yeah,
probably whip it out and
I think
spit.
you just pull a fucking Pee Wee Herman and you just go for it. You know,
You see John stand up and like sprint to the back of the theater. With the broken leg.
sprinting.
Ow, ow,
Fuck,
ow.
fuck, 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 fuck. Um, what I will say, naturally, she gave an incredible performance,
Yeah.
and I say that with my own bias on the side.
Mhm.
Um, this actually comes back to Kugler more than anything else, because again, what impressed me so much about the storytelling was how little he had to say to develop a story for a character. And I meant to bring this up earlier, but this movie is getting compared to Dusk Till Dawn a lot. And that is such a fucking smooth brain answer. Like, that is so, like, I understand the premise that you're talking about, but like, there are so many different characters that you actually care about that are developed.
Yeah.
There's so much more going on. There's so like I understand the idea that it's like, oh, people go to a party gets ransacked by vampires.
But I think that's like comparing Star Wars to Star Trek because they're ships that shoot lasers.
Right.
And it's like, you know what I mean? Like when you're pitching it in the elevator, those sound similar, but when you watch them, they're two completely different entities, man. And I
Yeah.
don't think I'm like you, I get it, but I think that's a really shallow take.
And that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying is like, if you're like, if you're one of those people that are like, oh, my friend told me it was just like Dusk Till Dawn, it
Yeah.
is not just like that.
Yeah.
Like, it is a similar premise, but there is so much more depth, and it's a completely different style too,
There's
because like,
nuance to this, right?
well, and
There's
I'm
like,
not even trying to shit on Dust Till Dawn because I love that movie.
mhm,
But that is a grindhouse movie. There's very much a difference between grindhouse and cinema, and everybody who has made both of those films have made differentiations between the two.
yeah,
First of all, we don't have Quentin Tarantino as a pedophile that is sucking on feet later in the film.
always
Like
nice.
we like they're so this is just the, and they're like, people that say, be like, oh, it's just the highbrow version of it. It's like, probably, what's fucking wrong with that? Um,
There's
I,
nothing wrong with that.
I'm just saying that I think these are two fundamentally different movies.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't think that, and Shane Gillis is the one that I saw first. Compare it
I
to
did see
Dust Till
that
Dawn.
too. Yeah.
And again, I don't know, because I love both movies, but they're for completely different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're inherently different.
Yeah,
You know, there, name one person other than Harvey Keitel that you were actually rooting for in Dust Till Dawn.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
but the thing I do want to talk about for a second is, going back to my original point, was the amount of depth that we get in Haley Steinfeld is, first of all, she is in love with Stack
Mhm.
because he tongue punched her fart box and fucking fucked her so good that she had to call him back. And that was so topical at the beginning. And then it turns out, again, or she had watched the boys be raised. She was always around them. She was in love with Stack her entire life. Stack tried to make her life easier because he does actually love her too, by getting her married to some white guy with a farm, which in the 30s sounds horrible.
I watched Pride and Prejudice last night, and they were talking about, oh, he makes $5,000 a year, honey. he's, he's fucking loaded.
so, so,
If
but
anybody was curious whether or not I have gay tendencies, yes. I watched Pride and Prejudice at 3 a.m. last
your words, but at 3 a.m., Jesus Christ,
night. Yeah.
what a nighttime movie.
I'm one
But
of those bartender hours now, I guess. Yeah. Just you know what I'm saying? You know,
your bar closes at 9.
it does close at 9.
So, but we also learned that her mom was the nurse that birthed both Smoke and Stack, helped raise the boys because the boys had a super abusive father and everything that comes along with that. And why I have such hats off to Coogler in this, because I felt like it catered to people like us, where all of that was really covered in like 3 lines of
Yeah.
dialogue spread throughout the film.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh,
Just super concise,
yeah,
timely shit, gives you all the
that's a
information you
nugget.
need.
That's all I needed. Was
100%.
just like,
And he allows the audience to sort of form their own story of how that looked and how deep that went and shit like that. And that's what you were talking about earlier with something like The Conjuring, where it forces you to think this and it forces you to feel like this is what they were trying to go for.
over and over and over
Right.
and over and over
30
again.
more times over the course of an unnecessarily long runtime. Right.
Exactly.
And yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Haley's performance is one that stood out for me.
Dude, even as a vampire,
Yeah.
I was just like
I
aside
did
from
it.
well, that wasn't even like in the realm of question.
Death taxes would fucking.
uh, but it was like she kept that like Louisiana, Mississippi Bayou fucking draw, while, and I don't find movies scary, but like I could tell from the outside that she was something that was pretty terrifying for some people. And she pulled that role off well. The only thing that got me, and this is just like anything that I watch, is when so she kills, quote unquote, Stack, and after fucking him, which, I mean, like, honestly, dog, if that's how I got to go down, like,
You will never get to that peak again in life. Like you have hit your climax.
I like to think when she bit his neck out,
Yeah.
he finished,
Yeah.
and like
Perfect.
Yeah. I'm done. So
he's like He's like spurting blood up. You're
Ugh.
such a good girl. You're
So like they come back when she's like already ripped his throat out, and she's like still, I guess, actively having sex with him. So, like, she stands up, and my man shoots her like 9 times in the chest. She falls over and gets back up. And this is always so funny to me when like vampires or monsters are like, well, gotta go. And they just like stand up and they just like Barry Allen sprint
Yeah.
out of the out of the fucking building.
Right.
And it's funny because she's in like this fucking satin dress.
Mhm. And kind of like, like cackling and shit.
It's that Evil Dead 2 laugh where
Yeah.
they're like, in the cabin and shit.
Right.
Yeah, she gets out, and like I don't know. There was something, but the rest of that she really pulls off for me. Like she really pulled off being a thrall. I think it was because she didn't even have to like think about being the leader of any of this. It was just
yeah. Free in her own way, so to speak, and completely under the spell of the vampire lord. Her master is the, again, obvious on the nose thing, right? I'm very picky with my vampires because I think, obviously we went way in depth with the Twilight movies and what we liked and what we didn't like and shit like that. But
we liked something out of that.
Yeah. I liked, or I like seeing vampires not shown in a way that makes them out to be like they're trying to fit into society. And like the other obvious one is like the Victorian vampire, and I'm going to eat all these people alive, but first I'm going to have this champagne, and like whatever the fuck, right?
Suck the blood from his cock.
It's because it's stupid as shit. And so to have this is a fucking demon. This is a monster that hangs out in the woods and waits for you to get close enough.
He is afraid of the sun, and that is it.
100%.
And he can time that.
Yeah, 100%. And that is just really fucking cool to me. I mean, I walked out of the theater, and I think the first thing you said was like, I really like that we got a classic vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't somebody that was affluent or anything. It wasn't obvious that he's been alive for thousands of years. He does carry fucking gold on him, but I think that was just an Irish thing more than it was like, an upper
I'm
class.
80% sure that was actually a doubloon.
A Dublin.
I think for all the Pirates fans out there, like I looked at Eric and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That was a whole piece of 8. Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, I agree, man, because for me it was like I needed just like all of my favorite vampire films are always the classic vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like Blade because I think Wesley Snipes is a bad motherfucker, but like my top 2 are at least until today are still going to be Daybreakers and 30 Days of Night.
Mm-hmm.
Because 30 Days of Night, and honestly, both of them really kind of do this where Daybreakers, I think, has a little bit more variation. But 30 Days of Night is like, you are a monster.
Mm-hmm.
You are not this fucking glimmering in the sunlight, and maybe someday I'll be able to pull Haley Steinfeld,
or even like a Nosferatu, where he's like kind of this gloomy looming thing that just kind of lurks in this castle and shit like that.
Right.
It's like an actual predator. It actually feels like there's
like the sun.
There are some stakes here. The only caveat being that you have to invite him in, right?
Right.
Shit like that. So
yeah, it would have been a lot easier if Shamik Moore was there. He'd be like, oh shit, Haley's outside.
Right.
Come on in, baby girl.
you see him like, I'm gonna kill you, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Pretty. It's that fucking it's that scene from Bug's Life.
he's literally
it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And like I get it, but you just can't be that much of a simp, bro.
At least just don't put that shit out there. Like he was under zero pressure to make that shit public. You know what I mean? Like Haley didn't come forward and spill any of that shit. Like
Yeah, just jerk off in your
he
mansion. Like,
totally did that to himself.
just jerk off in your house like 80% of America
Right.
does anyways.
Yeah. I'm never going to have a relationship with her. I'm probably never going to fuck her. Let me just do what I can. Yeah.
I bet he stands when he does it with socks on.
Yeah, in the shower. Like
Uh,
like a whore.
I actually want to talk about the only problem that I had with this movie, and I
Okay.
talked to you about it already.
Yeah.
So my issue with this movie is we have Sammy, who is an incredible character, incredibly written. He's the blues player that we see throughout, voice of a goddamn black angel. And there is a point where it feels like they keep drawing attention to holy water because holy water works on the vampires. Again, these are very classic vampires. And there is a scene, and again, this is your very last chance for spoilers. This is your very, very last chance for spoilers. I know we've already
I feel
spoiled.
like we've done a really good job about talking about plot points without actually like telling you what happens in the movie.
Yes,
I feel like we're crushing this.
but I am literally about to ruin one of the last scenes of the movie. If you want to watch it 1st,
Mhm.
now is your last chance. So this whole movie, you have Preacher Boy. It's literally his fucking moniker, right?
Mhm.
You have all of these things where it's like, oh, vampires are weak to holy water. Beatrice hits. We have scenes literally where we're watching holy water fend off and fight vampires. There's a scene at the end where Remick and Sammy are both in like this pond because
Mhm.
Sammy escapes because Smoke is fighting off Stack, and Stack is a vampire. If you
Mhm.
just it's again, it's very classic. If you get bit, which he got bit by
Mhm.
Haley earlier,
Takes like 3 minutes.
yeah, it takes
Yeah.
like 3 minutes. You are now a vampire.
Mhm.
He gets out, and Remick had 2 targets in that building. Again, all of this is very done. Like all of this plot is very surmised within like a handful of dialogue. Because the other was Smoke's love, who dies
Mhm.
in this film. Um, and she was a great character too. I really loved her. She's
and
just,
and that one was cool because she made him promise almost knowingly that if anything happens tonight, because she did the whole like voodoo thing on the table with the
she knew.
yeah, with the coins and the shells and shit,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be the one to put me down. Do not let me turn into one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was him losing his last bit of humanity for a minute before like ultimately deciding that he wanted to remain who he was. And so his arc is really cool too. Anyway, can
And I do
and what
think that how that's actually another instance of how we know that these are thralls
yeah.
because she knows that she's not going to be herself. She knows
Mhm.
that she's going to be mindless. She knows that this
Yeah.
is not what everybody is making it out to be.
Yes.
While Remick is alive.
Yes. So they end up in this pond, Sammy and Remick.
Yeah, so they end up in this pond, and as a lot of you know that listen to this pod, I'm very good at guessing the ends of movies, and I'm good at guessing plot points and stuff. And what I was really frustrated with, not because I was wrong, but because I felt like they missed out on a golden opportunity to do something like this, was when they're in the midst of their battle, like fucking Sammy's just getting fucked up, and Remick's like, I'm gonna drink your blood. And I really thought that this was gonna be a moment where, and maybe it's because Dust Till Dawn did this, but it doesn't make sense because like Harvey Keitel's character and Sammy are so different. Um, but I really thought that Sammy was gonna bless the pond that they were
Mhm.
in and just ignite this motherfucker into flames.
Right.
and instead he hits him with the fucking guitar that I guess the resonator was made out of silver for some fucking
That
reason.
was what my issue with it was more than
Why is your resonator made out of
it
silver?
it would not have been without a custom job. No, nobody would have ever done that.
Unless the previous guitar player was worried about fucking vampires.
And maybe that was the illusion because they talked about how it was his grandfather's or something. Maybe his grandfather fought vampires in blues bars in the past. Maybe that was the point where
Or even blues bars. I think blues bars were starting
it was
now.
still, yeah. It was, yeah. And so, like, what I took from that, because I thought about this a little bit too, and what I took from that is that Sammy had already strayed far enough from God that he was no longer capable of effectively doing that, right?
See, but I here's my thing though, is I don't, and I say this is not a Christian. I
Yeah.
say this is somebody who has just read the book a lot, but I felt as though he really hadn't. Like he had kind of done everything in his power at that point, and I don't know. I don't think that people just stray that far in that fashion.
So what it is, and maybe
And
like
I don't think the storytelling gave us that.
I don't think it did either, but I think maybe what it was echoing, because like traditionally people who are blessing things are doing that because they have faith. And I wonder if that was the point, that he didn't actually believe in God. He didn't actually believe in that Jesus was a savior or anything like that. He was just his son's child, or his father's child, and had been associated with that his entire life. He even uses the name Preacher Boy as kind of a like a stage name, obviously, but as a jab, as he sings songs about how much he dislikes being a part of this culture and that kind of thing. So I think his faith was either weak or non-existent in the moment, and that's why he chose to swing the guitar instead of, or maybe he was just defending himself. But I don't think he had the ability to bless that.
My only problem with that from the storytelling aspect is the fact that he is supposed to be one of the, I think it's called Daru or Dari or something like that, because they allude to that this
Mm-hmm.
entire movie. And I think it's not supposed to be your, and I could be wrong about this, but it doesn't feel like it's supposed to be about your connection to your religion. I think it's supposed to be your connection to spirituality.
I
And
think
I
that's correct,
and
but
I think that what he's supposed to be doing is blessing these waters by his ancestors.
but I would argue that it would no longer be holy water then, because holy water would be rooted in Christian faith.
But here's the thing: is why does it have to be that? Why? What? And
Oh,
the,
your argument being that there would be some other version of a spiritual sanctifying of this,
exactly,
that he
because
could tap into.
that's what this was feeding the
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
time.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
this whole story was feeding the entire time. It wasn't focused around that, but it was definitely feeding that idea.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is like
Hmm.
the spirits of the past like come in and bless these waters and protect him because he is this conduit.
Yeah,
And that's really what fucked me up was like the Christianity side of it or not, like
yeah.
it felt like that was not like an easy layup for Kugler, but like it felt like it was something that just should have happened for storytelling purposes. I think that would have been awesome.
Hmm.
I would have, because like especially when you have the scene that we were talking about earlier that was both I think I'm uh fair enough to say is both of our favorite scenes,
Yeah.
is literally him taking on the power of this spirituality and this experience through music.
And I still almost think that because it attracts good and bad spirits, the point of that being that it's like kind of an unaffiliated entity in terms of morality or something like that. It's just a vessel for whatever like predecessor that also had this spirit. I don't know. And that's okay. So let's just pause on the conversation for a moment and talk about the fact that this movie allowed us to have a discussion with this much depth in
Yeah.
it. A horror movie not only has us talking about the function of religion within, the context of like vampire killing or what, whether that works or doesn't work, but whether or not spirits are wholly good or wholly bad, not with a W, not like HOLY, but like,
Holy.
yeah. And it's a neutrality thing because like, I mean, there's a lot of shit in like Buddhism where inner peace and understanding of the universe strips you of things like caring about shit like that, right? Like you don't care about love, you don't care about hate or anything like that. You are without association to things like emotion.
Sure.
And I don't know. That's a really interesting debate.
Yeah, I kind of felt like Coogler missed out on that one.
Yeah.
And I love this film. I'm not trashing it. I just felt
Oh, of
like
course not. Yeah.
that was
That would have been
so
unintended
yeah.
nail in the coffin. Yeah, yeah.
And it felt so integral to what he was building,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it felt like we stopped on the fourth before we got to
Yeah.
the fifth. And I I am not, again, it's a matter of storytelling to me at
Yeah.
this point. And I loved this movie overall, but I just felt like that literally just would have been the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe and I will say maybe it's just me, and it's just like, oh, we don't want to feed that, and that's fine, but I don't think that making this movie he had people like myself in mind. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that was going to perceive it that way,
Yeah.
and that's fine. um but
Yeah, because like I'm getting, because you're right, it does feed that, because the woman who practices voodoo would still have access to holy water. She would still have, you know what I mean? She would still be able to, whether she made this herself, she would have enough faith to believe in it for what it represents
she had to
and
believe it's something.
how to use it. And I think she even says that she blessed it. I think
Yeah.
she said that she
Yeah.
was the one that created it and things like that. So I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts on that
Yeah.
too, because like that was not a detriment to this movie to me. It
No,
was
it was
just
just
not
the route that they took. You would have preferred the alternative.
right.
Yeah.
And I think with making by the end of this movie, I think you make Sammy the lead character,
Mm.
and I don't think you feel that way throughout a lot of it.
For like
Like,
2/3 of it. Yeah.
yeah, he feels like he's always there. He's always an important character, but and even though he's in the first fucking scene that
Hmm.
we see, we don't feel like he is the main
Sure.
character, because you have people like Haley Steinfeld that are in this movie.
Right. You got
uh,
to give her screen time.
yeah.
That's a really expensive extra.
um, but yeah, I would love to know everybody's thoughts on that, because
Yeah.
that was a big thing for me in this film.
I'm going to continue leaning into that he had completely let go of the path of like religion or like especially like a doxology kind of thing, like a subscribing to this version of, and because I feel like someone with that much connection to like a spiritual power is just the word I'm going to lean on. There's even a sequence where I think Smoke is pointing a gun at him and is like, if this is the last night you're playing here, I don't ever want to see you pick up that guitar again and shit like that, almost knowingly. And he's like, then you're going to have to kill me because this is who I am. And that's just, I don't know. I'm going to stick with mine on
Sure.
that one. And yeah, y'all hook us up with Ryan Coogler, and we'll just ask him where his
I
face
would
was.
I would love to
Yeah,
ask Coogler
yeah,
about that scene.
yeah. Thing.
Cool. So the only other thing that I want to talk about is my second favorite scene in this film. I love watching Aryan Nation die.
Yeah,
Like,
especially in this day and age where we feel closer to that than we have been since World War II.
so guys, this is one of those scenes where, again, we talked about earlier, Remick is like, hey, so the Klan's coming back the next day. So through all of this crazy shit that we have seen the night before,
There's still a job to do.
there's still a job to do.
And the soldier clocked that bit of it and kept it for later.
And my man has like a fucking M24 and a P90. Like he's like burying guns on the property and shit. Cause Smoke knows that he is about to have to give that smoke.
And I love that that was the name association too, because Stack was more concerned about making money.
They real like again, Coogler.
Yeah.
Coogler. So he gives the Klan shows up in broad daylight because they don't have
As
to
they
be.
do.
I mean, they're white.
Yeah.
They don't have to be afraid of
This is
anything.
yeah, right.
This is Clarksdale, Mississippi,
Yeah.
in 1932.
Police officers opened their beer for them.
They could have fucking had sirens on the way in, and no one would have showed up.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh man, guess we got to go kill these negras in here."
Mhm.
And I'm just like waiting, and then you hear like the first bullet go. My favorite part was like the Grand Dragon like pushes the other dude, and he's just like, "Door's locked." You sold someone a building. I'm sure it's fucking locked, bro. It's like you can hate black people all you want. At least they're not inbred.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And my favorite part, because it felt like the last scene in this film just felt like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Because he goes, "Oh man, door's locked," and you just hear,
Mm-hmm.
and like bullets start flying, and it's bodies are dropping. Michael B. Jordan is on like a dual pod, shooting with this fucking machine gun and just laying waste to the Klan, which of course my heart is just like soaring. Flying.
Let the rain fall down.
But I don't know why these scenes always get me, but I love the part where they start like hiding behind the trucks, and he stands up with it and starts walking towards and just firing fucking rounds in, because this dude has nothing to live for.
On some Rambo shit.
Yeah, he is absolutely fucking over it.
Baby's dead, lover's dead, brother's a vampire now.
The Klan's here.
Might as well kill some Nazis.
And that's the rhetoric we have to get back to as a nation. Shoot your fucking local Nazi.
Yeah.
Oh, but free speech. No.
No. Hate speech, not free speech. Yeah.
My freedom of speech is like, man, I don't think that's a really good idea. Theirs are like, these people are inferior. Like,
Yeah. Right.
They shouldn't have the same rights as us. What the fuck?
Yeah. And the inconsequentiality of that scene is certainly on the table. It does offer us an ending to Smoke Stories that is kind of like a vehicle for him into the next life, where he gets to find peace finally, and that was charming. I thought.
Sure.
I didn't personally necessarily need that. But that to me, and I'm kind of halfway joking when I say this, but that to me is what happens when a white man doesn't direct a movie about black people.
Sure.
You know,
I think that's totally fair.
You get the Klansmen die at the end, right? You know.
Oh wait, you thought we forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I loved that, and actually, just like on that, there is a power play that happens at the very end of this movie that I fucking loved, and it's fucking Michael B. Jordan has laid waste to like 20 Klansmen and thrown a grenade in somebody's truck and blown it up and killed a bunch, and like there's like there was a firefight kind of shit, and there's the Grand Dragon got like shot in the side, and throughout all of the stray bullets, Smoke gets tagged as well.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I don't think I know that that was like a very intentional thing. Like he was going into this hoping to die to go be, because, his Beatrice had already told him, like, which I loved that
Mhm.
name, loved that name
Mhm.
for this. But he kind of knew that he wanted to be with his family again. And there was
Sure.
really only one way to do that. And it was cool to see him like get shot. The Grand Dragon's like on the ground. He just looks down at him and goes, "You got a cigarette?" And of course, the dude like calls him the N word and says a bunch of other shit.
Right.
But he
But
hasn't.
yeah, I have a cigarette.
But he hasn't gotten to that part of dying yet, where
Yeah.
he's like trying to bargain.
Yeah.
Because like 5 seconds later, we get, "I have money." And it always reminds me of that scene from Even Lambs Have Teeth, where she's just like, "I have money," and she was like, "Is everyone
Everyone
just
in this movie
not?"
has money.
Yeah. Did the economy just not hit you guys here? Um,
Yeah.
but it was a beautiful ending to his story, because like he's bleeding out and he starts to see, his ex-wife and his child breastfeeding, which I get the intimacy aspect of it. To me,
I thought it
yeah,
was strange too.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a strange choice.
I was like, I don't love that. I would have loved the kid to be like 3.
Just a whole titty.
Yeah.
Just and I'm not saying that to like diss on the intimacy or like make
Oh,
fun of those
sure.
kids, but it's
That's all it was.
it's
Was he was trying to make it
yeah,
more intimate for
yeah,
people
yeah.
that are not
But
us.
it was the same thing you do when you're in a restaurant and like I am very much dude, breastfeed your child wherever you feel like breastfeeding your child. Like we as a culture need, but it's still you still do a double take, you still because we're not quite there yet as a society where we're looking at this and saying
Nice tits.
where we're looking at it and it's where it's just a totally normal thing. You still do the double take, so that's all I'm saying.
Um, yeah, that was my big thing. Is I thought that scene was incredible. I don't think it was. I think it was inconsequential to
To the
the
vampire
to
aspect of it.
yeah, to the, I would say, not the overall story, but the, because like the story is so in depth, but just that like topical idea.
Yeah.
I think it was inconsequential too.
I will wrap up with my final thoughts by touching on the fact that they got fucking Buddy Guy to be in this movie and represent Sammy in his like 80-year-old. And when I saw Buddy Guy, I was like, yeah, I mean that
Wade in the water.
we've got probably the last great living blues legend from that era, at least from like the guitar playing standpoint, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in this movie to represent that. That was super fucking cool. I thought that was amazing. And then the camera pans and fucking Kingfish is also on stage. And it was just like, dude. Because the reason, and I almost got emotional seeing that, the reason that that's so awesome is because it's a reminder that similarly to what we've been talking about this whole time, blues music and especially black music is going to continue forever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that was so sick.
Mm-hmm. And I know that this is a movie that we've kind of been all over the place with this episode, but there's so much going on. There's so much depth. There's so much to love about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the girl that's looking at me right now over my shoulder. But I love Sinners, and I can't wait for Kugler's next project, and I hope that it's fucking horror.
100%. I think this is again like we've talked about. We had a conversation with Peter Cannon about this, about the way that you make horror movies better. And it turns out all you have to do is add some depth and backstory to, to the characters. Storytelling strong, writing is strong. Soundtrack.
He's always going to be the dialogue. It's always going to be the
Yep.
dialogue. Like,
Yep.
because Brian Coogler proved that in this film. I didn't need more context than he gave us, and he gave it to us
Yep.
so easily.
And it's not even rapid fire. Nothing in this film moves especially quickly. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels too slow. It's all so concisely done. Soundtrack is crazy. I was listening to that on the way over here. This is one that by the time we upload this will probably be on its way out of theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just say that if it's around you, you should go see it in theaters before before it's too late.
Well, thank you, fellow sinners, for joining us today. And thank you so much for joining us once again, where it creaks, it cracks, and we laugh at the creatures that go bump in the night. And I think I like these creatures that are going bump in the night.
Mm.
Mm.
Fuck you, Josh Allen.